Hello fellow dragons, it's Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming, and believe it or not, it's time for reviewing another game. And today's game is The Sinking City. I've done a live stream of this. It's a good game, but I thought since I've finally got around to finishing the game, I thought I'd have my own thoughts on the game. The game is still currently only on Epic and Xbox and PlayStation, but it's what it is, and Epic being what they are, they're just dicks still. But anyway, let's move on from there. Now, to be honest and straight up to the front, this game is glitched. There is a lot of sort of graphical problems that are contained within this game. And I think some people might find that hinders them. Like, you'd think that the Cthulhu thing, or the long story, or the walking through the city, or anything like that. No. The one thing that's going to probably freak you out the most in this game is the minor glitches that happen everywhere, and the NPCs that just appear and disappear all the time through the game. Also, before we begin, I've only done the first hour and a bit of the game, and that's where my footage is coming from. I'm trying not to add more footage that goes on further in the game, because the game is really about experiencing the entire game, and I think if anyone is interested in Cthulhu or any Cthulhu-like games, or even basic kind of detective-like game, they're going to enjoy this. And I don't really want to spoil what they're going to enjoy for that. Now, my time with The Sinking City has been a really good time. I've enjoyed a lot of the bits and pieces. The underwater thing is the only thing that I can sort of say that I dislike. But graphically, this is an extraordinary game. It's very immersive. You're in a city. No real load times between locations or any places that you have to go in and out of. It is very seamless the whole way through. I love the ability to jump into a boat right along the riverways, well, streets really, and just the amount of sort of clutter and movement and just the overall creepiness of the entire... It's filthy, it's full of muck and gunk, and it feels dank. It feels sort of claustrophobic almost, and also that sudden change of lighting that will happen sometimes. It really is quite interesting. And then we go on to the character models for the main guys that you actually speak to, and even the NPCs themselves are really highly detailed, and there's a large sort of variety between all the different ones, and it's really enjoyable. The one thing that's not a great variety, or not a great sort of change or scope of it, is in the actual house design, which is one thing that really kind of irked me. Like, there are certain set pieces in the game that are sort of like landmark buildings that you will go into, but then there are buildings that are sort of mission-derived buildings that you have to go into, and nearly every single one of them, there is about 3 different sort of versions of them, and after you get past that 3 different versions, even the cellars themselves, after you get past a certain amount, it just becomes so samey. And I think that's what really lets this game down, is that samey nature. I remember later in the game, when you have to go into the more high up areas where the aristocrats and whatnot live, or the upper echelon families, and I was looking for this one house, and I got lost in the other street because I thought this was the street I was looking for, but I was looking for the identical looking house on the street just above it, and it annoyed me and it upset me, because it made it difficult to know where was the right place and where was the wrong place to go to at times, and I really got upset by this. I thought it was kind of a bit of a lazy sort of idea and structure, and I think it could have been done so much better. And I think it's also where some of the glitching structures will happen. Like at times you will find, as you're walking towards a trolley or you're walking towards a overturned vehicle and whatnot, all of a sudden coming around that vehicle will be 5, 6, even 20 NPCs that just appear out of nowhere. Or you'll turn around and as you're walking through, an NPC sort of literally pops into existence the minute you sort of turn your camera, and then you turn your camera on 360 and all of a sudden that NPC disappears again. And yeah, there's a lot of that walking animation. It's reminiscent of the original Grand Theft Auto 2 and 3 era games where the NPCs would be there, but they would disappear, so they didn't have a long sort of render time, or they didn't have enough sort of importance in the code to stay in there. Now, a lot of these graphical glitches can be flawed or can be sort of fixed and everything, and I think it's up to Frogware's sort of design and ideas whether they're going to finish it or not. I would really like them to sort of expand on this world and add more to it, and possibly even just fix these minor sort of glitches that are basically timing issues and ideas of just keeping sort of certain NPCs, groups of them, in specific locations instead of using this kind of random design idea of throwing them up. Enemies are the same at times too, where they'll just appear out of nowhere. And okay, the enemies are supposed to appear out of nowhere, but at the same time, there is this slapdash sort of effect with the graphics of popping in, popping out, moving in and moving out and everything like that. And it's just, it's not something that should happen to a title that is this well polished. And it's really is a well polished game. The overall feel of it and the overall look of that wet, dank, almost slimy feel of the entire game is fantastic. And it just gets hurt by these minor sort of flaws here and there. Alright, we'll have a listen to the sound and music, and I'll get back to you after that, and we'll discuss that one.
The end is nigh. It will begin again. What is down comes up. The seed is sowed.
The old papers are by the door. Take them and stop bothering me already.
I think you've got me confused with someone else.
Aren't you a newcomer?
Yeah, I guess I am a newcomer. Charles Reed, private investigator. And I also need your old newspapers, the archive, to be exact.
Ah, so you're the one who cracked the Albert Throgmorton murder case. Nice work. I'm Helen Bland. Say, can you do me a favor? Give me an exclusive interview. You won't regret it. The Oakmont Chronicle is the best newspaper for miles around.
All right.
Sound and music wise, it's a really good game. Like, it's definitely a creep factor. It's definitely, like, it's not Control's the creep factor, it's the Cthulhian creep factor, which is one thing that I really love about this game. It's kind of more of what Cthulhu should be, as opposed to what it's not. Like, it's not the entire Cthulhian experience. It's not the entire sort of feel of the ancient gods or anything like that. Like, you're not going to find what's this guy's name? The guy that created all of the elder gods. I forget half the Cthulhian lore. It's stupid of me, but you're not going to get Cthulhu popping out of the sea. You're not going to get his daughter that is the dream catcher or anything like that. There are lots of things that this is not, but at the same time, it definitely captures the creepiness factor. Like, Johanna he just screams evil villain out for his own sort of wants and needs in that bright yellow suit. And then you get some of the other characters that pop up that are just so fantastic. Like, it's just a fantastically designed game, and I love how the racism is actually created in this game, in the sort of talking medium between the Innsmouths, the Throgmortons, the is it the Blackmores, and all the other sort of races and everything. They're just talking about each other as if they're pond scum, or they are beneath the other in some way or shape. It really illustrates the entirety. Like, it's a 1920s based sort of game, period-wise, but at the same time, it's still oozing that entire sort of structure about it in the voice delivery and everything, and I do love that, because at the end of the day, this game is more driven by the detective and the story arc itself, as opposed to a lot of the other things. The guns fire off very nicely. I love the Tommy gun. I love just the general feel of the guns. I love the monsters. They can give you a real sudden scare where they appear out of nowhere, and even when you have one of the monsters that basically squirts out a darkening mist that obscures your view, and you just, oh god, what am I doing? What am I doing? And you're left in a tiny little panic. Music-wise, it's very sort of creepy, crouching music that is always kind of there, and it sort of rises up into heights at every time. The other thing this game kind of reminds me of, it kind of reminds me of Vampire, which is really a good thing, because Vampire had a lot of great things. And this game also shares some of Vampire's ideas as well, where there is a choice to make on who lives, who dies in the city, who is going to survive past one part or another, and everything. And I love that kind of design thing about it. Gameplay wise, it's a very simple game. It can be run on controller, it can be run on keyboard and mouse, and it's really smooth. It's very fluid. The overall run of it is fantastic. Like, I'm running a Ryzen 2700X with a RX 5 what is it, 580 I forget. It's an AMD card, and it still runs beautifully well, and I recorded over the top of it and had no frame drops or anything like that. And it's a really smooth sort of game in that respect, in the PC view of the game. And I enjoyed it, and I loved a lot of that. The thing that I kind of got ached about this is that there is no real hand-holding in this game. And to be fair, you're not really supposed to be hand-holding in a game all the time anyway. You're supposed to be sort of given that option. Like, there are the two levels of extreme that a lot of us have all seen. We can see the From Software design, where there is no hand-holding and you're just left to the waste. But then you can also see the Platinum version as well, where there is no hand-holding, but at the same time the game is intuitive enough to make you understand what you're supposed to do. And these are two extremes of games that I've seen in my lifetime. I'm actually looking forward to Death Stranding and seeing what the result of that one is when it does come out. But moving forward with the gameplay, you get to upgrade your various stats and everything with knowledge points that you get from the experience from completing each successive sort of quest line in the game. And I did like that. It added a lot of more to it, and you could upscale or downscale the combat depending on how you wanted to play the game, and without affecting the actual gameplay, which is fantastic because that made this game very accessible to all level of players, and even the curious people that don't know about the Cthulhian lore, and people that are very versed in full-on Lovecraftian worlds upon worlds. The combat is probably the one sticking point that I've heard a lot of people complain about, and for me, the thing that made the combat more difficult was the creatures weren't obvious what to hit, and the other blindingly obvious problem was that right smack bang center of your damn screen is the bloody main character the whole way, and that makes it so hard to aim for things when they, especially when they get close range to you and you can't lock onto them or anything like that, and it made it so damn hard to try and get past these characters at times. And yeah, I got pissed at that on so many times. On my second playthrough it became easy. On my third playthrough I literally was staying to walk through the game as if it didn't even bother me anymore. So, you know, it's all about learning how you're playing the game and how it feels to you. But a lot of people have sort of said the combat was the bad side of this game. Combat is not really the focus of this game. The real focus of this game is the storyline itself, and I enjoyed that. And I think if they could fix some of the graphical errors and add more sort of storylines and more quest lines and everything to this game, I think it would be an extraordinary game. I think it would get much bigger and much better, and I would really like to see what their second attempt of doing this would be, because I can see the bones of a really great game. I can see the bones of a great Cthulhian game, and there have been a lot of Cthulhian games out there. Some great, some bad. Like, we're going from the realm of Call of Cthulhu, or Cthulhu comes and takes over the world, all the way up to the latest of Call of Cthulhu games where they're actually much more scoped and designed better. But again, always and ever, the main problem is trying to handle that psychosis sort of mechanic, and the sanity mechanic in this game is not handled very well. It's sort of touched on, and if your sanity does go right down to the bottom, the world turns into utter darkness and everything starts popping out of the woodworks. But it's not really shown in the greatest sort of sense here, and it's still not covered in the best way that it should be. And I kind of find it sad that, again, we've got games like Hellblade that have come out, and they really touch on that fine edge of insanity. And it's really a really scary kind of game. And yet here we're trying to create scariness, but there's jump scares, but there's no real scariness. Lastly, I really want to talk about the underwater sequences. My God, why did the underwater sequences have to be so sucky? Like, it's basically a who's who of trying to find where you're going and trying to dodge dangerous elements and then try and get to the end before you die, sort of thing. And I really got upset by this. I thought, of all the things that they could mess up, honestly, the diving sections you couldn't mess up. Yeah, they messed it up royally. It's not great, it's not enjoyable, and it's tedious. It really is tedious, and that's the one thing that really irks me about this game. Now, talking about this game, it's really inspired me. I've got to go back to my Lovecraftian books and start reading again, because there are so many wonderful stories. Now, he was a racist, self-absorbed, inbred, sort of self-obsessed individual that unfortunately suffered from lots of bad situations and lots of bad sort of things that happened through his life without any help from people outside of his immediate sort of friends group, which were very small and meager. But in many respects, I think Lovecraftian works are an interesting piece of horror fiction to really behold. And this game shows that off very well. And I think for anyone that's a first-time player for the Lovecraftian world, this is a great game. It sort of introduces a lot of the ideas, introduces a lot of the concepts and everything, and spikes the interest to go, ooh, Lovecraft, what's that all about? And stuff like that. And I think that is what this game's really a good starting point and a good reason why it's a good buy. Because it's a good grounding in a simple idea that sort of makes the person sort of more inspired to see into something. So I've been Shane from Astral Dragon Gaming, and thank you so much for sitting around and watching me all the way to the end of my video. You're a very brave person for sitting through my droning voice all this time. Down below, please give me a comment and talk to me about other games you'd like to see on my channel. I'm still sort of scoping out my channel. My main goal is to bring reviews of games that I've been playing around to help me with my writing, help me with my video editing, and just generally expanding my own skills, and also enjoying showing people games that I enjoy. Because when you review a game, you should enjoy it, or at least if you didn't enjoy it, tell people what went wrong with it. And I think some reviewers just don't cover how they feel about a game enough sometimes, and I really wish there was. There are plenty of guys out there that emote it very well and really describe how good or bad a game is, regardless of how much money someone's truckloaded up to their front door. But hey, someone trucks loads of money up to my front door, they still get the same review regardless, so oops. I'm not making many friends there, I don't think. Anyway, please subscribe, please hit the notification bell, please hit the thumbs up if you did like it, thumb down works just as fine, and I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.
He was bragging about how much Mr. Throgmorton would give us for saving his son. But that ape, he was out cold. Then woke in an instant and started screaming, attacking us. After that, can't remember a thing.
You shot to kill. No warning, no second chances. You pursued Albert even after he fled. Why?
I can't remember it.